Section 14 of Pirates of Panama, The Buccaneers of America, by A.O. Exquemelin. Translated by G.A. Williams. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Lars Rolander. Chapter 10. Of the Island of Cuba. Captain Morgan attempts to preserve the Isle of St. Catherine as a refuge to the nest of pirates, but fails of his design. He arrives at and takes the village of El Puerto del Principe. Captain Morgan, seeing his predecessor and admiral Mansvelt were dead, used all the means that were possible to keep in possession the Isle of St. Catherine, seated near Cuba. His chief intent was to make it a refuge and sanctuary to the pirates of those parts, putting it in a condition of being a convenient receptacle of their preys and robberies. To this effect he left no stone unmoved, writing to several merchants in Virginia and New England, persuading them to send him provisions and necessaries, towards putting the said island in such a posture of defence as to fear no danger of invasion from any side. But all this proved ineffectual by the Spaniards retaking the said island. Yet Captain Morgan retained his courage, which put him on new designs. First he equipped a ship, in order to gather a fleet as great and as strong as he could. By degrees he effected it, and gave orders to every member of his fleet to meet at a certain port of Cuba, there determining to call a council, and deliberate what was best to be done, and what place first to fall upon. Leaving these preparations in this condition, I shall give my reader some small account of the said Isle of Cuba, in whose port this expedition was hatched, seeing I omitted to do it in its proper place. Cuba lies from east to west in north latitude, from 20 to 23rd degree, in length 150 German leagues, and about 40 in breadth. Its fertility is equal to that of Hispaniola, besides which it affords many things proper for trading and commerce, such as hides of several beasts, particularly those that in Europe are called hides of Havanna. On all sides it is surrounded with many small islands, called the Cayos. These little islands the pirates use as ports of refuge. Here they have their meetings, and hold their councils, how best to assault the Spaniards. It is watered on all sides with plentiful and pleasant rivers, whose entries form secure and spacious ports, beside many other harbours for ships, which along the calm shores and coasts adorn this rich and beautiful island, all which contribute much to its happiness, by facilitating trade, whereto they invited both natives and aliens. The chief of these ports are San Jago, Bayam, Santa Maria, Espiritu Santo, Trinidad, Sagoa, Carbo de Corrientes, and others, on the south side of the island. On the north side are La Habana, Puerto Mariano, Santa Cruz, Mataricos, and Baracoa. This island has two chief cities, to which all the towns and villages thereof give obedience. The first is Santa Jago, or Saint James, seated on the south side, and having under its jurisdiction one half of the island. The chief magistrates hereof are a bishop and a governor, who command the villages and towns of the said half. The chief of these are, on the south side, Espiritu Santo, Puerto del Principe, and Bayame. On the north it has Baracoa and de los Cayos. The greatest part of the commerce driven here comes from the Canaries, whither they transport much tobacco, sugar, and hides, which sort of merchandise are drawn to the head city from the subordinate towns and villages. Formerly the city of Santa Jago was miserably sacked by the pirates of Jamaica and Tortuga, though it is defeated by a considerable castle. The city and port de la Habana lies between the north and west side of the island. This is one of the strongest places of the West Indies. Its jurisdiction extends over the other half of the island, the chief places under it being Santa Cruz on the north side, and La Trinidad on the south. Hence is transported huge quantities of tobacco, which is sent to New Spain and Costa Rica, even as far as the South Sea; besides many ships laden with this commodity that are consigned to Spain and other parts of Europe, not only in the leaf but in rolls. This city is defended by three castles, very great and strong, two of which lie towards the port, and the other is seated on a hill that commands the town. It is esteemed to contain about 10,000 families. The merchants of this place trade in New Spain, Campeachy, Honduras, and Florida. All ships that come from the parts before mentioned, as also from Caracas, Carthagena, and Costa Rica, are necessitated to take their provisions in at Havana, to make their voyage for Spain. This being the necessary and straight course they must steer for the south of Europe and other parts. The plate fleet of Spain, which the Spaniards call flota, being homeward bound, touches here yearly to complete their cargo with hides, tobacco, and Campeachy wood. Captain Morgan had been but 2 months in these ports of the south of Cuba, when he had got together a fleet of 12 sail, between ships and great boats, with several hundred fighting men, part English and part French. They called a council, and some advised to assault the city of Havanna in the night, which they said might easily be done, if they could but take any of the ecclesiastics; yea, that the city might be sacked before the castles could put themselves in a posture of defence. Others propounded, according to their several opinions, other attempts; but the former proposal was rejected, because many of the pirates, who had been prisoners at other times in the said city, affirmed nothing of consequence could be done with less than 1,500 men. Moreover, that with all these people, they ought first go to the island de los Pinos, and land them in small boats about Matamona, 14 leagues from the said city, whereby to accomplish their designs. Finally, they saw no possibility of gathering so great a fleet, and hereupon, with what they had, they concluded to attempt some other place. Among the rest, one propounded they should assault the town of El Puerto del Principe. This proposition he persuaded to, by saying he knew that place very well, and that being at a distance from sea, it never was sacked by any pirates, whereby the inhabitants were rich, exercising their trade by ready money, with those of Havanna, who kept here an established commerce, chiefly in hides. This proposal was presently admitted by Captain Morgan, and the chief of his companions. Hereupon they ordered every captain to weigh anchor and set sail, steering towards that coast nearest to El Puerto del Principe. Here is a bay named by the Spaniards El Puerto de Santa Maria. Being arrived at this bay, a Spaniard, who was prisoner aboard the fleet, swam ashore by night to the town of El Puerto del Principe, giving an account to the inhabitants of the design of the pirates, which he overheard in their discourse, while they thought he did not understand English. The Spaniards